This morning we're going to be in chapter 11 of Judges. And we'll start with our same prayer. I hope this prayer is growing in meaningfulness as we go through Judges. But let's pray. Blessed are you, O Lord our God, King of the universe, who is faithful even when your people are faithless, who is mighty to redeem when your people are weak in every way, who is even now working to set all things right and inviting us to participate. Teach us your ways, Lord, as we study your word. Reshape us. Make us holy as you are holy. Amen. Let me first say thank you very much for your participation last week. Doing class discussion via Zoom is frightful for the leader, let me say. And you made it work for me, so thank you very much. And thank you for the excellent thoughts you brought to the discussion as well. I always learn so much from all of you when we do these things. So today, our next exciting episode from Judges is about Jephthah. And if you know Jephthah, you know that he is infamous, and you know that there are questions about Jephthah. So we're going to explore some of that today together, and hopefully you can help me figure out what in the world's going on with Jephthah. So here's Jephthah. Verse 1, look at him. So Jephthah the Gileadite was a mighty warrior. Now, we don't know whether he was a mighty warrior at the beginning of this or whether that's looking back and saying, we know now that he was a mighty warrior. But he was the son of a prostitute. Gilead was the father of Jephthah, and Gilead's wife also bore him sons. And when his wife's sons grew up, they drove Jephthah out and said to him, you shall not have an inheritance in our father's house, for you are the son of another woman. Then Jephthah fled from his brothers. Now, apparently, they were threatening him with violence. I mean, he wouldn't flee if they were just saying, you need to go, They were apparently threatening him. And when you get thrown out of the community, when you're put out on your own, it's almost a death sentence, because safety is in the community. Safety is in the household. So, yeah, just like Joseph. So he's driven out, and he goes to the land of Tob. It's a remote region. Gilead has land in the north part of the land, and this is the northeast part of the north part. So he's out in a remote area where other people who have been driven out have gone, which means these are outcasts. These are people who've been thrown out maybe for a reason, maybe for no reason, but they've been thrown out. So they turn into scavengers, they turn into bandits, they do whatever they can do to survive. So in the ESV, it says, worthless fellows collected around Jephthah and went out with him. The Hebrew for worthless fellows is no account, empty people, no count people. That's right. After a time, the Ammonites made war against Israel. And when the Ammonites made war against Israel, the elders of Gilead went to bring Jephthah from the land of Tob. And they said to him, come and be our leader, that we may fight against the Ammonites. But Jephthah said to the elders of Gilead, did you not hate me? Okay. So now we learn it's not just the brothers. It was a wider group that threw him out. And when they come to him, the come and be our leader in Hebrew is very brusque. It's not a loving invitation. It's, well, we need you, come. And they're offering him to be their military leader. Well, see, he's not immediately amenable to this. Did you not hate me and drive me out of my father's house? Why did you come to me now when you're in trouble? The elders of Gilead said to Jephthah, well, that's why we've turned to you now, that you may go with us and fight against the Ammonites and be our head over all the inhabitants of Gilead. Okay, so now the tone changes and they go, well, we're desperate. We do need your help. And not only are they offering now to be military leader, they're offering him to be head over all of Gilead. Leader, king, whatever, boss man. They're saying, we're going to follow you. So Jephthah said to the elders of Gilead, if you bring me home again to fight against the Ammonites and the Lord gives them over to me, I will be your head. So he's saying, if I'm successful, then I'll do it. But the elders of Gilead said to Jephthah, the Lord will be witness between us if we do not do as you say. So, they're pledging now. So Jephthah went with the elders of Gilead, and the people made him head and leader over them. He said, if then, they're like all in. No, you're it. You're our head. And Jephthah spoke all of his words before the Lord at Mizpah. Now, we don't know exactly what that means, but it sounds like a formal ceremony to become the leader. It sounds like they gathered and maybe they said some agreement to each other. So his first act is interesting because he doesn't go on the attack. He tries a diplomatic solution. So he messages the king of Ammonites. I don't think it was an email. I think it was couriers. What do you have against me that you've come to me to fight against my land? And the king of the Ammonites answered the messengers of Jephthah, because Israel, on coming from Egypt, took away my land from the Arnon to the Jabbok, that's one river to the other, and to the Jordan. Now, therefore, restore it peaceably. I told you, these people that they've run out of the land keep wanting it back. I know. They want their land back. It does sound familiar. This land was once ours. It should be ours again because it was ours once. But, if you go back far enough, there was always somebody who had it before then and somebody who had it before then. And it's basically God's land anyway. So, yeah. So it does sound familiar. This used to be our land. We want it back. So Jephthah then makes 3 arguments back to the king of the Ammonites. First, he's going to tell the history. He says, Israel did not take away the land of Moab or the land of the Ammonites, but when they came up from Egypt, Israel went through the wilderness to the Red Sea and came to Kadesh. And Israel then sent messengers to the king of Edom, saying, please let us pass through your land. But the king of Edom would not listen. And they sent also to the king of Moab, but he would not consent. So Israel remained at Kadesh. Then they journeyed through the wilderness and went through the land of Edom and the land of Moab and arrived on the east side of the land of Moab and camped on the other side of the Arnon. But they did not enter the territory of Moab, for the Arnon was the boundary of Moab. And Israel then sent messengers to Sihon, the king of the Amorites, the king Heshbon. And Israel said to him, please let us pass through your land to our country. But Sihon did not trust Israel to pass through its territory. So he gathered all his people together and camped at Jahaz and fought with Israel. All right. We're just peaceable people. We always ask permission. We come, we're just trying to move through here peaceably. And Your leader started a war with us. You know, that may be a little one-sided in the reciting of it. And the Lord God of Israel gave Sihon and all his people to the hand of Israel, and they defeated them. So Israel took possession of all the land of the Amorites who inhabited that country. And they took possession of all the territory of the Amorites from the Arnon to the Jabbok and from the wilderness to the Jordan. He said, you know, we won it fair and square. You attacked us, we beat you. It's a historical fact. Land's ours. All right. So now he's going to give a theological reason why it's theirs. So when the Lord, the God of Israel, dispossessed the Amorites from before his people Israel, and are you to take possession of them? Will you not possess what Shemosh, your God, gives you to possess? And all the Lord our God has dispossessed before us, we will possess. So our God gave us this land. If you were supposed to have this land, your God would have given it to you, right? Did your God give it to you? No. Our God gave it to us. There's a reason we're here. Okay. Now he's going to give a legal precedent. Now, are you any better than Balak, the son of Zippor, the king of Moab? Did he ever contend against Israel, or did he ever go to war with them? While Israel lived in Heshbon and its villages, and in Ar and its villages, and in all the cities that are on the banks of the Arnon, 300 years. Why did you not deliver them within that time? I therefore have not sinned against you. He says, we've been here 300 years, and you're just now saying you don't like this? Come on. We've been here 300 years. So he's given the king 3 reasons. I therefore have not sinned against you, and you do me wrong by making war on me. The Lord, the judge, decide this day between the people of Israel and the people of Ammon. But the king of the Ammonites did not listen to the words of Jephthah that he sent to them. He basically, it bounces off, right? Yeah. No, I'm going to make war. I said I was going to make war. I'm going to make war. So Jephthah starts off pretty well here. You know, he's trying to deal with the Ammonite king without going to war. But it doesn't work. So in verse 29, the Spirit of the Lord was upon Jephthah. It's interesting to me that we have seen the intervention of the Spirit on these judges. God is choosing these people to be judge, and he's sending the Spirit to them. So God is very active. God is the actor in all of this. He is the power behind what's happening. He's involved. And we've already seen that the judges aren't entirely honorable people. That's, an understatement. Okay, so the Spirit was on Jephthah, and he passed through Gilead and Manasseh, and he passed on to Mizpah of Gilead, and from Mizpah of Gilead he passed on to the Amorites. So he's going. God's with him. God's given him his Spirit, and things are set. Now, here comes the part of the story of Jephthah that we'll have to talk about. Okay? All right. Jephthah made a vow to the Lord and said, if you will give the Ammonites into my hand, then whatever comes out of the doors of my house to meet me when I return in peace from the Ammonites will be the Lord's, and I will offer it up as a burnt offering. So Jephthah crossed over to the Ammonites and to fight with them, and the Lord gave them into his hand, and he struck them from Arur to the neighborhood of Minnith, 20 cities, and as far as Abel Keramim with great blow. So the Ammonites were subdued before the people of Israel. Then Jephthah came home to his home in Mizpah, and behold, his daughter came out to meet him with tambourines and with dances. She's celebrating the victory. She was his only child. Besides her, he had neither son nor daughter. As soon as he saw her, he tore his clothes and said, "Alas, my daughter, you've brought me very low, and you've become the great cause of trouble to me. For I have opened my mouth to the Lord, and I cannot take back my vow." Okay. I have a question for you. Why? And I'd like an answer. Now, there is no answer given in the text, so there's no right answer. I'm asking you to speculate. Why did Jephthah make this vow? God had already given him the Spirit. Why did Jephthah make the vow? I'll sacrifice the first thing out the door when I come back. Do you have a guess? Can you can you tell a backstory for why this might be true, Scott? Scott has an idea.
I don't know about an idea, it's just a thought. And certainly it's not backstory, but you get the general sense that he didn't feel 100% belief or trust in that the Spirit was given to him. And so he is it's a plea basically, Lord, please make this a victory, and I'll do anything. I'll do the stupid thing, that first thing that comes to my mind. A bargain kind of a thing.
I know you said you'd take care of us, but just to make sure. Okay, that's a good idea. It's one of my bullet points. I agree with you. Name another one. What's another reason he might have made this vow? Chance, do you have an idea? Huh? Okay, so Chance says maybe he felt like he needed to offer something back. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Along that line, we hear, we see sacrifice as the death of somebody. And maybe just like what happened with Samuel, mom's, here you go, you can have them. So maybe it's, I will give you, but it doesn't mean the death of whatever I'm going to give you. So,
okay. So he's offering something as a burnt offering, but not necessarily the death involved. Yeah.
Mine is rather simplistic, but he might be so tired, he's not thinking straight.
Good one. Good one. Good one.
That's a good one. I'm thinking along the lines, Scott, I mean, just get rid of this pain, help me or help this person, if you'll heal, I'll go to church every Sunday. I'll, all of those kind of bargains that we tend to make. I guess comes down to lack of trust, as I was saying, but we tend to do that.
Bargaining. Yeah. 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 All of those I think are plausible. We just, Gerald, yes.
Sorry, one more. I agree with Chance, of course, and I agree with Scott. But we need to look at it from Jephthah's point of view just for a minute. Prior to any of this happening, he was an outcast. He was on the fringe, if you will, of being separated from the community of the Israelites. And so maybe he doesn't feel worthy deep down, but he doesn't feel worthy for that kind of trust.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. It's hard for us to accept sometimes that God's going to do great things through us, particularly. Yeah. Yeah. Another, Lawrence. Yeah.
I don't remember any instance of a person negotiating with God successfully.
Well, 50 people, 20 people, 10 people, God. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. It's interesting to wonder about what was in his head. One of the writers that I was reading said, um, this is a difficult time in the history of Israel. And there's a lot of syncretism, the word for our God and all of your gods too, right? And offering a sacrifice to a god, a pagan god, is very much in keeping with the way most people thought at the time. And so I read this, I think it was in Timothy Keller's book, long discussion about how our culture creeps in on us and we don't even really realize that we've adopted the culture's way of thinking in our relationship with God. That's an interesting one. I think, the idea that he wasn't fully convinced that God was going to take care of him is a good one. I think wanting to do something for God, we want to earn God's approval. And that's, I think, a natural impulse. And so, maybe he did feel like he needed to do something. I need to have some skin in the game. But anyway, he makes this vow. Now, look at what happens next. Now the scene shifts to the daughter. She said to him, "My father, you've opened your mouth to the Lord. Do to me according to what has gone out of your mouth, now that the Lord has avenged you on your enemies, on the Ammonites." So she said to her father, "Let this thing be done for me. Leave me alone 2 months that I may go up and down on the mountains and weep for my virginity, I and my companions." So he said, "Go." Then he sent her away for 2 months, and she departed, she and her companions. By the way, a group of young women, her tribe, and wept for her virginity on the mountains. And at the end of 2 months, she returned to her father, who did with her according to his vow that he had made. She had never known a man, and it became a custom in Israel that the daughters of Israel went year by year to lament the daughter of Jephthah, the Gileadite, 4 days in the year. Okay, you get echoes of child sacrifice. You get, I don't know about you, but this is such a downer. This is a bummer. So, okay, let me ask you this. How would you describe the daughter's reaction when she learns of the vow? Amazing. What's the daughter's reaction? I tell you, my first thought was it sounded a lot like Mary. Do with me as you said. Let it be to me as you said, whatever version you're used to reading about her response to the angel. That's what it sounded like to me when I read it. Why do you think she was submissive to this? And is submissive the right word? Is obedient the right word? Faithful? Yeah. Sounds faithful. Sounds like she has a high regard for God. Yeah.
From our position today with women's rights and everything, we forget that even at the founding of the United States, women were not persons, they were property. They belonged to their father until he gave them away or sold them to their husband. So She was responding as her culture would have it done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of culture involved in this. Yeah. Who gives this woman this day to this man? Yeah. When Shep and I first got married, I couldn't have a credit card in my name. Right? It was illegal.
Is there a wild past that we don't know about? No. Sorry.
I can make something up if you.
Well, this may be overly simple. I just read this and it goes with Gerald, faithful. Mary's a great example. I immediately thought of Jonathan too. Just
Yeah.
here's an example of something that all we read is somebody who's just faithful.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she goes out, she could have fled at that point.
She came back. Yeah.
But she ties it all to the Lord and his vow to the Lord. I mean, it just seems to me to be maybe the cultural thing is there, but the faithful thing
Yeah.
really stands out to me.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Yeah, it's interesting, reading it through the lens of women's rights these days. It's like, why'd she come back? Why in the world? But yeah, the culture of the day, her faithfulness. No wonder they celebrated her afterwards, not just as a lament, but as a memory worth commemorating. So this may have reminded you of Abraham and Isaac. Okay, here's one more quick question for you. How is this different from Abraham and Isaac? Isaac survived, right? How else is it different? Isaac was a promised child. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
God intervened
Oh.
there, but apparently did not intervene here.
And why didn't he intervene here?
Cannot answer that.
God did not tell him to do it. That's right. God did not ask him to make that vow. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Other thoughts? How is this different from Abraham and Isaac? A female was involved. The women are disposable. Yeah. Okay.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Did she know he had made that vow?
I don't think she knew until he got upset when he saw her and he told her he'd made a vow. I don't think anybody knew during the war. I think he made the vow privately beforehand. And then when he came home was when the whole story came out. But it's not 100% clear. Yeah. Scott?
I'm sorry it's a repeat, but I think Chance nailed it on the head. It's with Abraham, that was God directed. God said, I want you to do this out of faith. And this was a human being saying, tell you what, God, I'm going to do this, trying to call the shots. That's the difference. And I never thought of it that way before, but I think that's clearly what the difference is.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. Yeah. This is very different. This is a man, much like Sarah coming up with her own way of doing things. This is a man coming up with his own way of doing things. It was interesting when I was reading on this. Several different authors quoted the 16th century Spanish mystic Saint Teresa of Avila, if you've ever run across her. She said, God can write straight with crooked lines. Or in some translations, God can write straight with a crooked pencil. So even a man that makes this kind of rash vow and then keeps it, God can use and do things, great things with. Okay. Chapter 12. This is going to sound familiar to you. The men of Ephraim were called to arms, and they crossed to Zaphon and said to Jephthah, why did you cross over to fight against the Ammonites and did not call us to go with you? You remember they did this to Gideon. You didn't even ask us to be a part of the great glory. We're mad. You've brought dishonor on our house. We will burn your house over you with fire. So Jephthah said to them, I and my people had a great dispute with the Ammonites, and when I called you, you did not save me from their hand. And when I saw that you would not save me, I took my life in my hand and crossed over against the Ammonites, and the Lord gave them into my hand. Why then have you come up to me this day to fight against me? And Jephthah gathered all the men of Gilead and fought with Ephraim. Now this is a civil war, right? This is tribe against tribe. Fought against Ephraim. And the men of Gilead struck Ephraim because they said, you're fugitives of Ephraim, you Gileadites, in the midst of Ephraim and Manasseh. I'm told that the Hebrew there is a tremendous insult of some sort. And when any of the fugitives of Ephraim said, let me go over, the men of Gilead said to him, are you an Ephraimite? And when he said no, they said to him, say, Shibboleth. And he said, Sibboleth, for he could not pronounce it right. Then they seized him and slaughtered him in the fords of the Jordan. At that time, 42,000 of the Ephraimites fell. And Jephthah judged Israel 6 years. Then Jephthah the Gileadite died and was buried in his city in Gilead. Okay. There's an interesting theme that runs through all of this. You know, in the beginning, Jephthah was thrown out of his house, right? His home. And then he fights the war and he comes home and his daughter comes through the door of his house, right? And now they're telling him, we're going to burn down your house. So there's this interesting theme of house that runs through this. Would be interesting to pursue that and write some meditation about that at some point. But that's the story of Jephthah. I think the password at the end is interesting. I don't know if the Ephraimites had a lisp or you know what the deal was, but that's. Don't you just love these random things? Yeah, Scott. You're not from around here if you say pecan. Yeah, exactly. There's also a thread that runs through this story about the words of your mouth and about Jephthah making rash promises and then the Ephraimites, not being able to say the right words from their mouths. So then this chapter ends up with 3 quick judges. There's Ibzan of Bethlehem. He had 30 sons and 30 daughters. He gave in marriage outside his clan, and 30 daughters he brought in from outside for his sons, and he judged Israel 7 years, and then he died, and he was buried in Bethlehem. All we know about him. After him, Elon, the Zebulunite, judged Israel. He judged Israel 10 years. And then Elon the Zebulunite died and was buried at Ajalon in the land of Zebulun. That's all we know about him. Then Abdon, the son of Hillel, the Pirathonite, judged Israel. He had 40 sons, 30 grandsons. He rode on 70 donkeys. He judged Israel 8 years. Then Abdon, the son of Hillel, the Parathonite, died and was buried in Parathon in the land of Ephraim in the hill country of the Amalekites. Check, check, check. So next week, next exciting episode, we're going to talk about Samson next week. So stay tuned for more exciting stories from Judges and ponder just how much you think we are different from them. I don't know. Does your culture affect the way you interact with God? Does your culture cause you to do strange things in your relationship to God that aren't biblically based? I think we're not that different from these ancient people. Okay, we're going to stop there. We'll pick up again next week. Thank you all.